Hi, everybody. Welcome to Creative Spirit. And today, Nancy Smith is with us. And I'm not going to say too much about what we're seeing on the screen right now, but I would like to say a few things about Nancy and her journey. She started as a Master Naturalist and then a few years ago got her certification in forest therapy. So she is a forest therapy guide. And she also is a Reiki practitioner. So this energetic, this creative energetic that she brings to us through the visions we're going to see today is just an evolutionary journey that, well, I'll just let her tell us a little bit more. Hi, Nancy. Welcome.
Hi, Trudy. Thanks for having me today.
Oh, I'm excited about hearing the backstory to some of these creations. So, can you tell me a little more about how this evolved in your life?
Sure. I have always been a lifelong nature lover too. That's we can add that to my resume there. But I grew up on a farm and would always like to be outside if at all possible in any weather. So, and we lived right by a creek, and I spent a lot of time in there when it was warm enough, wading and playing with stones and moving things around. So you could always find me outside. And I continued that as much as I could as I got older. But of course, when kids come along, that's not something you can do as much as you'd like, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But I have started to really embrace it again because that's where I'm happiest is when I'm out there outside, whether it's, a forest, a woods, a prairie, or even a park in town.
Mm-hmm.
Just being out there, just sitting out there, just experiencing the sights, the smells, all of everything that's out there. So recently,
Mm-hmm.
I've started making mandalas,
Mm-hmm.
and those are a physical representation of perhaps something spiritual, maybe something without a actual physical being, but you can process what you're going through or just enjoy what nature has to offer you.
I forgot one thing. You have spent quite a bit of time exploring photography too, and I think you've offered a few of those that are not mandalas that we'll see. Can you tell me about that interim time and how maybe the being out in a ramble in the forest for you to bring you into your spiritual oneness, which I think is what I heard, how that evolved into photography and what you use some of the photos for, because you do share them in different ways.
Yes, that's a good point. I like to take pictures that to me represent something there in nature that I'm seeing or feeling. So it may not necessarily be that I'm trying to capture it, but I'd
Mm-hmm.
like to get a sense of what I'm feeling, and then I can share it if I have a picture. I feel I can share it with other people and hopefully spark something in them too. It doesn't have to be the same thing I saw or felt, but whatever it sparks for them is what I'm aiming for.
You do a meditation once a month that I host in Balance Life, that you often share some of these photos that you were talking about, the things that you see when you're out and on a ramble, right? Why the word ramble?
Ramble
Mm-hmm.
because no set or specific beginning or ending. Like when you go for a
Mm-hmm.
hike, you look at the map and you see you're going to go here to there and follow it around, and you've got a definite point A to point B for yourself. That's not it for a ramble. You just go out and you move around. Maybe you will get all the way from an A to a B, but it's in between what matters, not getting there. It's looking, and experiencing while you're there. Just taking your time, sitting down, just connecting while you're out there. And that's a ramble, just doing it at your own pace.
So you're connecting to the energies and then
Right.
moving along based on what's pulling you or drawing you in certain ways.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Well, are we ready to go on a tour?
I think so.
What are we looking at?
Well, this was beginning a stage of a mandala I made in my front yard.
Hmm.
And I just started with some gifts. I like to say gifts. That's what I use to make my mandalas, are gifts that nature has given me. So whether they're something, when I'm on my own property, I can cut things. If I'm out
Hmm.
in the woods, I strictly use what's on the ground. I don't cut anything. Woods, I mean, I don't have woods here. So I mean a public place. I don't pick or cut anything. I merely gather what's on the ground. So these were things I did cut, and I get a whole variety usually. Just walk around and see here at home what is blooming, what's available, what nature is gifting to me at any particular time, and put those in a basket and then find a spot that I feel connected with and start creating. And whatever I'm going to use as the center, and then go out from there. And so try to keep it symmetrical. And as I built this one, I was just feeling all the colors
Oh,
that nature can provide and gift us with. And so I can almost smell this too. The little white pinkish flowers with the green underneath them, those are some wild phlox, and those smell very nice and sweet. So
it's organized, but it also has movement.
was outward from the center. There's a center, and then the movement is outward from that.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
so next slide, please.
Sure.
I had a lot of gifts that my yard and acreage offered me this day. So I went ahead and decided to kind of centralize and finalize all that energy that was within the balloon flowers, and then the can't think of what that's called right now. Oh, bridal veil is the common name for the outside edged greenery. So for me, I just love that pop of the yellow, and it just says summer to me with all of the.
Hmm.
So whatever else, when other people look at it, what they might feel something totally different, and that's fine. But I offered back to nature from the gifts that I was able to find. I offered this back as a thank you for the beautiful summertime abundance.
So this one was built on your property.
Yes, this was.
Hmm. Okay.
And this is one of the pictures that is not a mandala, obviously, but this one, it was the motion and the acceptance, the lily flower accepting the water. The water's coming down, being offered to the lily, and its motion. And then there's the difference of obviously the contrast of the black stone in the background and the colored stones, but it was just all the offering and refreshing.
Hmm. And I can almost hear the trickle of the water, looking at this. Yeah.
Thing, but this was at the botanical garden in Muhammad at Lake of the Woods. So
And you do travel. You know the properties and the parks and
Mhm.
the forests. You've been doing this for many years, so you have special spots, I'm sure.
I do, yes. And this was at the a water feature there at the back of the garden. It's the Mayberry Gelvin. If anybody wants to find the location, Mayberry Gelvin Botanic Garden. But just want to look at this one all day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. When you sent these to me for today, I I know we always have more than we end up using,
Right.
which we did a pretty good job today. I don't think we cut too many, if any. Well, maybe one. And when I saw this one, I thought, oh, I hope she wants to keep this one.
Hi, kids.
Yeah, yeah.
So next slide.
Hmm.
Again, this one was not at my property, but this one I wanted to get a sense of fall and changes
Yes.
and movement.
Hmm.
So got an acorn that's still kind of green, but a red leaf and the water moving past and over them. So the changes come. So this I liked the liquid look. This meant changes to me and the movement that change brings. But it was gentle. So I didn't think it was, a gusher like tumbling us along in the energies. It was a nice, smooth changes.
Yeah. And you go out almost every day, don't you?
I would, I try to. I can't always make it, but I'm happiest when I do.
Yeah. So when you said feeling the change is coming, and knowing that you're out so frequently and really absorbing and exchanging energy with the trees, the plants, the water, and the stones, all of it,
Right.
you're so attuned to the nuances of seasonal change. It's like you move along with it. I've watched your photos for several years, and you just move along in a way that's almost like a forecast for the rest of us that don't get out every day, where we can start seeing the beauty of the changes in the season. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. And you can also get out and see the changes and experience them. Even if you make it out once a week, that's a victory for you and your spirit to get out once a week even and experience it.
Yeah. Just sit and breathe or walk and breathe. And,
If you happen to see my pictures, hopefully it will help tide you over
yeah.
between your outings.
Speaking of pictures, this might be a good time. You have a new Facebook page?
Yes, I do. It's called Portal Points. So if anyone would like to see more of my pictures or experience them for yourselves, get some inspiration, hopefully, I invite you to join that on Facebook, and you can ask me questions there. Also, if anybody would ever like to go out with me, we could set up something through that perhaps and have a fun little trip out and see what we can find.
Yeah. Ready for the next one?
The next one, yes, ma'am. Yay. Okay, so I have this sphere that I like to use for pictures. And
It's like a crystal ball, right?
it's pretty good size.
Mm-hmm.
So it's heavy, but I can get good images with it, I hope. This one to me is the Cathedral of Trees. You're up there, it's tall, and you can see the majestic trees reflected in the sphere, held up by the remains of a tree. So this one was just majestic, I thought, and gave a real sense of that majesty you feel
Yes.
in your very bones when you're out in the trees. So this one, it's like a cathedral, my cathedral picture. So that's why that one's in here. And I hope that people can get some of the sense of the awe
Hmm.
they can also find when they go out. And
It's stunning.
yes, I love this one too. I might love a lot of them.
Mhm.
I guess if you don't like your own things, though, you probably quit doing
Yeah, well, I might like a lot of them too, so we'll just
it.
agree on that
All right,
topic.
all right, ready for the next
So
one.
this is very different, and I think this one will stand out as we see some of the others coming up as being unique in the way that you put it together. So was there something special about this one that was different than the others?
Yes, this one I made as a birthday present for a friend. I just thought about her and her journey and what she's been up to in her life and made this with her specifically in mind while I was making it. So, this one also, I will say, most of this is store bought, except for the green you see, the green under the roses and inside the roses was something from my property. Everything else I did get at the store,
Mhm.
but just thought of her while I was making this one.
So this is symbolic of the recognition of your friendship with this person.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And her life. She's had some changes in the last few years. So I just thought of those things. And I guess I forgot to mention that I often uh, chant a mantra while I'm making my mandalas. So different ones. So that's
And,
another factor.
and I've seen pictures that you've shared having your mala beads out there too with you for practice. Yeah.
Yeah, true. But yeah, this one it was a little different, but I really liked it.
Hmm. So hearing about expressing the spiritual qualities of another human being that's a friend and representing them in a mandala brings me back to the others that we've seen and the ones we'll continue to see. And is there something about each one that is also that type of symbolic representation of what you're feeling energetically or experiencing that moment, that day?
Yes, sometimes more than others,
Mm-hmm.
as we have ups and downs. Sometimes I try to work out some of my feelings through the mandalas, and
Mm-hmm.
often it's simply an expression of joy for me, just to be able to take the gifts that nature is giving me and use them
Mm-hmm.
to make something beautiful. Yeah, don't
You know,
make them necessarily for other people to see. It's fine if they do, but I'm not. Sometimes I make them. I am making them for other people to see. That, for example, if I leave them, if they're in a public place, if I've created them in a public place, then maybe I am thinking of others, maybe what they might see. But a lot of times, it's more, something that I'm experiencing myself, and I try to use the offerings, the gifts, rather, to make something.
so when you start choosing the materials, the different flowers, the colors, the textures, and you choose the location, is it spontaneous based on the energetic at that time? Or do you come into it with sort of an idea of like maybe I'll create one here today and you start looking around. You said you noticed at home. You would look around at the different colors and what's blooming, what kinds of gifts nature was offering for the day, and choose that. Uh, is it more planned or more spontaneous?
It's more spontaneous, I would say, because you never know what gifts you're going to find,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're out, not on your own property.
Mm-hmm.
So want to be respectful of the property you're on. So you just find what has been, left for you to be a gift. So, and you never know. Like, I believe yesterday I found a lot of berries yesterday when I was out that I didn't expect to find. So that was, and that sparks joy.
It sounds like it sparks inspiration.
Yes, it does. It sparks inspiration. It sparks creativity. It does, because you work with the materials you have, obviously, and
Right.
use it to make something of beauty.
Yeah.
So, you want the next slide?
Sure, let's move on.
Okay. I will say this is actually the first mandala I made. And I made this in a public space. Again, Lake of the Woods is quick and easy for me to get to, so it gets a lot of the love from me. So this was, I'm looking at the materials. This was all actual materials I found there at the Botanic Garden. I will say that the purple, one of the gardeners was trimming ours, and I said, "Oh, excuse me, could I have a couple of these?" And so they were nice enough to share with me, but the others were things that had fallen off trees, or when they water the flowers, that will knock some blooms off. So I picked up the impatiens. And so this one was, I'm not sure if you can see it here, but there's some dragonfly wings in the center of this one.
Yes.
So those were there too. Those were right, this is on a rock there. And they were right there, and I picked them up, and I thought, wow, that's going in. So this one was just one of my first attempts to make a mandala.
Yeah.
And I was very happy. This one was also at Lake of the Woods, and it was raining. This one, I don't know. What does this one make you think of, Trudy? I'm going to turn the tables.
Yeah. It definitely has a festive feeling to me, a festive energy.
Well, this one has a border. Some, as you can see, sometimes I put an edge, a border around them, and sometimes I don't. For me, that tends to mean it's stopping. It's all within here. All the action and energy is within the border. When it doesn't have a border, then that I picture that energy just continuing on, the mandala getting bigger and bigger and bigger, which also brings me to, if you ever are out and happen to see one of my mandalas and you'd like to add something to it, feel free to do that, because we're all part of the ebb and flow of the energy. And if you would like to add something to it, you're welcome to. So
what's in the center, though? That is capturing my attention.
That's an upside down mushroom.
Mushroom.
Very large. Very large. Yeah. That one I did pick out. I cut out of the ditch not too far from my house, where they always grow when it's been wet a lot. And I was like, not sure what I'm going to do with it, but I'm going to cut that one and take it with me. So there it is in the middle.
And the leaves are wet. You can see when you said it's raining, my attention was drawn right away to the leaves that look damp. Yeah.
Yeah, I was a little wet too, even though I put on my raincoat, my legs. But I felt like a kid playing in the rain. It was wonderful. I remember, I wasn't grumpy because I was damp. I felt just like a little kid out playing in the rain. All I needed was some puddles to stomp in, and it would have completed it. But for me, so that was wonderful. I just felt so refreshed the rest of the day, because as I was creating, I felt like a little kid out there I could smell all the wet smells on the trees. And so I encourage you, go out in the rain too, put on your raincoat.
It's a multi-sensory experience. Yeah. And that's something I think that as we have been working through these, this gave us a great opportunity to say that seems to happen in all these creations, in all these mandalas. Another border.
Another border.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't look at that too much when I was choosing these pictures. I just kind of chose pictures for you. This one is here at home, and it is also with all the flowers are gifts from around the farm.
Mm-hmm.
So this one, I feel like little sparks of energy from the little pine needles.
Mm-hmm.
They're in there, but they're radiating out and up a little bit, and just with the straight lines as a contrast to the roundness of other things. They're just a contrast to it. And they just kind of carry out and shoot out the energy from the center that you might be seeing or feeling from that. It's the milkweed blossom in the center.
Mm-hmm.
And that and the false sunflowers was the yellow, just kind of shooting that energy from that out.
Yeah.
And over perhaps the border. So
yeah.
Maybe I did get it contained. Maybe I did not get that contained in the border. Not necessarily. That is
But it's
shooting
a fringy border, so it still has an opportunity to expand.
It is open. Indeed, it's not solid. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I did that again. I did that on purpose too, because it's sort of contained, but not exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And the pine needles are doing their best to share their energy all over the place, like sparklers.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that.
And it's just a dirt background. That's another aspect. Like when you choose a spot, you clear it before you start making your mandala. I got a little whisk broom, and you kind of sweep it and make it clear. So it's kind of as clear as can be and clean for your creation, for your offering that you're offering back.
Yeah.
So next one, we have a next one, I think. Oh, another one made in the same spot. So it was not the next day, because I wait for it to be done with its life before I use the same spot again.
So there is a lifetime to these.
There's a lifetime. You leave it there, and you can go back and look at it later. We'll talk about that, I think, with the last slide. I have some more to say about that, but that's also part of the process, is to go back and look at it. But this one, again, I just loved the contrast of all that greenery there in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
It's with the colors. Then it's all the solid greenery and then the colors. So I don't overly remember what kind of energy I was feeling from this one, other than I just had a lot of pinks and purples, and I wanted to use them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did.
And it's very different. It's a contrast. Some of the others, you have the flowers in the middle, or in a radius very close to the middle, and to have the open space in the center and the flowers surrounding that open space is a different message completely.
That's right. Thank you for helping me remember that. It seemed like we talked about this in particular, but we hadn't. That was it. I was saying, there's material here, but there's the openness, and it's good to have the openness, and then something can be around that openness. It's all creative. It all flows and works together. That's another thing with the mandalas. It all flows and works together. Whatever the colors or textures, they're all working together to make the whole, to make it all beautiful, and to have the message for everyone. I try to find unusual things sometimes for the center. That is a spent peony blossom in this very center that I've turned upside down. So
So things don't have to be in perfect full bloom. They can be in various stages.
Seed form, the dried out form. And as we get more into fall, I believe we'll be seeing that more. I'm
Mm-hmm.
taking advantage now of things being in bloom and being at the height of their, you know, growing, and using those in my mandalas. But I've started switching a little bit to some other, well, the berries
The
kind of to me
berries, yeah.
are like end of a cycle. You know, that's their end goal, is to turn into a fruit and
Mm-hmm.
be able to reproduce. So stay tuned. We'll see more fall.
Yes. And we talked about you being highly in tune with the seasonal changes and the nuances that Earth is sharing with you about transitions.
Right. So we'll start transitioning some more. So
Okay.
next slide, please. Back on the bricks. So back in a public space. This one, I do know, I definitely wanted to make it, for me, the message be the loose openness where a lot of possibilities could be. And it just would, without all the energy, also be open so energy could come in. But that's what I remember with this one, was that it was just, I wanted no border, so it could just be out there,
Mm-hmm.
shooting out the energy all over.
And you can feel it moving away
Yes,
from the center.
this one definitely. Yeah, I could feel the movement. I thought. And side note, I tried to make the bricks damp because I liked that wet brick look from when it was raining, but
Mm-hmm.
it dried out too quickly. So you've only got some like damp looking patches of brick up in the corners.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't pour the water on there because it would shift it all.
Right.
But I was like, oh, I'll just put water around and it'll be nice wet brick look. It didn't work.
And, the experiment is really important too, I think. And sometimes whatever shows up is very interesting and adds a lot to it. Uh,
Right.
what's in the center? What did you choose for the center?
Oh, the center, like the thing, it looks like a little cage. There's actually
Yes,
one
those.
center and then four more. Those are Queen Anne's lace that is done blooming, is going to seed. So when it's done, it closes up like that to protect
Mm-hmm.
the seeds a little bit, because the seed heads are in there. Oh, this is the one I made today. Yay! I made this one here. So I wanted to make something beautiful in the center and then ring that around so that energy is right there, all tight and helping whatever's in the center. The center is working on itself, keeping the energy to itself. But yet, outside of the center, there's the other healing energy that's flowing in towards it.
Mm-hmm.
Other also put some motherwort self heal in this at the. I was going to point to the screen to the on by the little aster flowers.
Mm-hmm.
Motherwort some self heal again, just to send the energy in towards the center for healing. Is what I got out of it, and that's my favorite grass. I put it on. I love that type of grass. Strange, but I have a favorite type of grass, and I put the mandala on that.
Very nice. So this one, I think the next one, if I remember correctly, is very different.
It is. I think if we get, yes, it is. However, that is a mandala.
Mm-hmm.
That is one I made here. However, it had a border around it of stones, but that is probably 4 days after I created it. And the reason I included this one, and I take other pictures like this too, after they've been made for a while, is that that's part of the process. That's part of the beauty of the mandala or any of nature, is that it's going to change.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say this word, it's not a bad word, it's going to decay. That's part of the cycle. And this shows that.
Mm-hmm.
It's still mandala, it has changed. It will perhaps bring out some other ideas or feeling or energy with for you. But to me, I like this one, and it's still beautiful, even though
Mm-hmm.
it's not as it was the day I made it. If I go back and look at it, or someone else here in my family, comes across it as they're walking, it's an example to them too. Any of the mandalas I maybe leave in a public space are going to be seen. Whenever I've went back, nobody has disturbed them. Nobody's like shoved them aside. So I can see how they have changed. And other people then have that too. Maybe they didn't see them the first day.
You've come full circle with this, from bringing the beginning to the end and allowing the end to recreate for a new beginning. Just lovely. How can people get in touch with you?
I think the best way would be with Facebook on the portal points, send a private message.
And I can put all that information in the description section of the video. So just open that space and you'll be able to contact Nancy or me and get more information about anything that might be of more interest for you.
Right.
So we're out of time.
Well,
And
thank you so
it's just
much.
been an amazing tour. Thank you for the time today. I really appreciate you saying yes and being here.
Thank you so much. As Trudy said, any questions, just let me know. Namaste.
Namaste.